Hi, this is Liz from Create Access. This video will show you how to add pop-up dialog devices and audio players to your Fortnite island using the Unreal Editor for Fortnite, or UEFN. You can set up pop-up dialog devices and audio players to be triggered when a player approaches specific assets on the island. This can be useful when you are attempting to provide information about assets on your island, as you might in a museum or other interactive 3D experience. To get started, launch UEFN and access the project you're working on. This lesson assumes that you have a project in progress with at least one asset on your island, such as a photogrammetry model on a display. I'll be demonstrating these procedures with a project in which I've already constructed a building and added some models and light features. Now I'll set up a pop-up dialog device to provide information about one of the models. You can get started by locating an asset that you'd like to connect to your pop-up dialog device. The first step in connecting a pop-up dialog device to an asset is adding a capture area to the asset. A capture area is a zone that can trigger different events when a player steps inside the zone. To add a capture area, open the content drawer and access the Fortnite folder. With the Fortnite folder selected, type capture area into the search box. Click and drag the capture area that appears in your content drawer onto your island near your selected asset. Position your capture area as you wish. Remember, the capture area is the zone that, once entered by the player, will trigger your pop-up dialog device to appear. You may wish to surround your asset with your capture area to ensure that the pop-up dialog device appears anytime the player approaches the asset from any direction. Your capture area can be moved using the Translate gizmo. However, to gain a bit more control over the size and placement of the capture area, you may wish to switch to an orthographic view. Click the Perspective button at the top left of your viewport and select your preferred orthographic view. The top view is likely to be useful in this case, as you can see your capture area and asset as though you were looking down at them. You can adjust the size and location of your capture area by locating it in the outliner by either scrolling through the list of assets until you find it or by typing capture area into the outliner search bar. Select the capture area. Within the orthographic view, use the Translate gizmo to move your capture area as you wish. To change the size of your capture area, note the Capture Radius option under User Options in the Details panel below the outliner. You can adjust the capture radius to a bigger or smaller number depending on whether you want a bigger or smaller capture area. Experiment with different radius numbers until you are satisfied with the outcome. In the Details panel below the capture radius, you should see the words Visible During Game with a checkbox next to it. You may wish to uncheck this box so that your capture area itself is not visible during gameplay, as it can be a distraction. Return to Perspective view to be sure your capture area appears as you want it to. Now we will add a pop-up dialog device that will be activated when a player enters the capture area we just set up. The pop-up dialog device will cause a pop-up billboard with text of your choosing to appear upon the player's entry into the capture area. Open the content drawer, be certain that the Fortnite folder is selected, and search for pop-up in the search box. The pop-up dialog device should appear. Click and drag the pop-up dialog device onto your island. It can be placed anywhere, but if you intend to add multiple pop-up dialog devices to your island, It makes sense to locate it somewhere near the asset it's connected to so you can stay organized. With the pop-up dialog device selected in the outliner, access the Details panel below and locate the User Options section. Choose a title and a description for your pop-up dialog device. The title and the description are what the player will see on the device when they enter the capture area. Pop-up dialog devices can include buttons that give the player the option to view a second pop-up. For example, if you are creating a pop-up dialog device to provide information about a model you created, you might set up the first pop-up dialog device to provide basic information about the model, then ask the player if they'd like to know more and give them the option to respond yes or no. You can set up a second pop-up dialog device to provide more information if the player answers yes. I will show you the procedure to set this up now. With your pop-up dialog device selected in the outliner and under User Options in the Details panel, you should see a response type command. I am going to set up two response options, so I'll select two buttons from the dropdown. Next, in the Advanced dropdown, change the text associated with each button to be what you wish. Since I will be asking the player if they'd like to know more about my model, I will change the button 1 text to yes and the button 2 text to no. Now that a pop-up dialog device has been added to our island, we need to set the circumstances under which it will be displayed. In this example, I want it to be displayed whenever a player enters the capture area. Select the pop-up dialog device in the outliner and go to the User Options Functions area in the Details panel. Click on the plus sign next to Show. There are two ways to associate the pop-up dialog device with the capture area. The first way is to click on None, search for Capture Area in the menu that pops up, and then click on Capture Area. The second way is to click on the little eyedropper in the Show area and then click within the Capture Area in the viewport. Regardless of the method chosen, the upper None entry in the outliner should change to Capture Area. Now click on the None dropdown just below the dropdown where you just selected Capture Area. This should bring up a dropdown listing the possible trigger events that would cause the pop-up dialog device to be displayed. Select the On Player Entering Zone option. Now I need to set up the pop-up dialog device so that it will be hidden or disappear if the player clicks the No button in response to the Would you like to know more query. To accomplish this, select the pop-up dialog device in the outliner, and then in the Details panel below, click the Hide dropdown. Search for the pop-up dialog device in the resulting list of assets and select it. In the Hide section of the Details panel for the pop-up dialog device, click the lower None dropdown. This should bring up the list of possible triggers that cause the pop-up to be hidden. Select On Responding Button 2. Button 2 in the pop-up dialog device has been assigned an answer of No from the player, so when they click No, the pop-up dialog device will close. Now I need to add a second pop-up dialog device that will be triggered if the player responds yes to the Would you like to know more query of the first pop-up dialog device. Open the content drawer, access the Fortnite folder, and search for pop-up. Drag a second pop-up dialog device onto your island. Again, you can place it anywhere, but it's a good idea to keep it in the general area of its associated asset. Add a title and description for your new pop-up dialog device. For example, you might provide additional information about the model you are displaying. Since this is the last pop-up dialog device I will associate with this asset, it requires only a single button labeled Close. Change the response type setting to one button and the button 1 text to Close. I don't want this pop-up dialog device to display when the player enters the capture area. Instead, I want it to display when the player clicks Yes in response to the previous pop-up. To make this happen, with the second pop-up dialog device selected in the outliner, navigate to the User Options Functions area in the Details panel and click the plus sign to the right of Show. Click the None drop-down and then search for the pop-up dialog device. This is important. The trigger that makes the second pop-up dialog device appear is button 1 on the first pop-up dialog device. Therefore, be certain to select Pop-up Dialog Device, not Pop-up Dialog Device 2 from the list. Now, click on the lower None drop-down in the Details panel of the outliner and select On Responding button 1 from the choices. Although you could define the Hide property for the second pop-up dialog device to be tied to the Close button, this is not necessary. Hitting Close, or whatever you defined as text for the button, will cause the pop-up dialog device to be hidden by default. Now I will show you what this series of events looks like in gameplay. To launch your session, click the Launch Session button at the top of your screen. Fortnite should launch. It may take a few minutes. In addition to pop-up dialog devices being triggered when a player enters a capture area, audio files can be added to your island that will play when the capture area is entered. You can use one of the audio files already available in UEFN, or you can create one of your own and import it. In our example, we will import a custom audio file. UEFN currently supports audio files in a .wav format. If you wish to use an audio file that's in a different format, you can use a variety of tools to convert it. There are several free tools available online that you can find for this purpose. Once you have an audio file in a WAV format saved to your computer, you will need to open the content drawer in UEFN and access the Fortnite folder to add an audio player. In the search box, type Audio Player. Click on the audio player thumbnail and drag the audio player near the capture area where you'd like the audio file to play upon entry. Now it's time to import your audio file. In the content drawer, click on the folder with the name of your project where your project-specific content is stored. Click the Import button and browse to the location of the desired WAV file on your computer. Click Open to import the file. The file should now appear in your content drawer. Now we're going to connect the audio player to the audio file that we just imported. In the outliner, select the audio player. You can type audio in the search bar or just scroll through the listed assets until you find it. With the audio player selected, in the User Options Audio section of the Details panel, click the drop-down arrow to bring up a listing of all available audio files. Locate your audio file. You can either enter some or all of the file name in the Search Assets search area or just scroll through the list to find the file. Select the file by clicking it. Now that your audio file is connected to an audio player, You can set up a trigger event so that the audio file plays when the player enters the capture area. To do this, select the audio player in the outliner. Locate the User Options Functions area of the Details panel below and click the arrow to access the dropdown. Click the plus sign next to Play. Then click the down arrow in the upper None box. This will generate a list of assets. In the search area, type Capture. Click on Capture Area in the list. Once the capture area has been selected as the trigger, click on the down arrow in the second None box. This brings up a list of possible trigger events. Scroll down the list if necessary and select On First Player Entering Zone. Doing this will cause the audio file to play when the first player enters the capture area. Depending on the length of your audio file, you may wish for the file to stop playing when the player exits the capture area, regardless of whether or not the file is finished playing. You can configure your audio player to do this. Click the plus sign in the Stop area of the Details panel under User Options Functions. Click the upper None box drop-down arrow and then search for Capture Area. Select Capture Area from the list of assets. Click the lower None box drop-down arrow and then select On Last Player Exiting Zone. Now I will show you what the entire sequence, with both pop-up dialog devices and audio files, looks like in gameplay.
This is a working wooden clock. It was constructed using precision laser-cut balsa wood pieces, friction fit together. No glue was used in the construction of this clock.
Learning to add different types of trigger events can help you create more dynamic and engaging 3D experiences. Use your creativity and the many functions available in UEFN to experiment with the ways you can build the world around you in 3D. Thanks for watching.